After writing 2 transformational books myself and supporting many other beings to do the same, I've become enthralled by the deep and mysterious magic that's activated when we choose to say yes to ourselves and commit to the book writing journey. Of course, we want to inspire change and new perspectives in our readers, but the transformation that happens as an author, both throughout the writing process and by actually releasing your book into the world, is surprisingly potent. I know I've been blindsided in the most disruptive and delicious ways by some of the changes my books have brought into my life. Writing a book is like casting a spell. Although we can never be completely sure what's going to be unleashed during the process, we choose to do it anyway. This Unbound one is a heroic journey. Each book has the potential to be a magical portal, a doorway to a new world, both for you and your reader. Each book has a very specific medicine that it's here to share with us. And each book gives us the opportunity to alchemize the magnificent imperfection of our experience into gold. The truth is that anyone can write a book. We could all get a few thousand words down and put them together. But what fascinates me is what happens when we allow the book writing process to go deeper. When we say, fuck it, get naked and dive way down beneath the surface. Letting go of the shoulds and any need to be acceptable, sensible, or approved of. What fascinates me is what happens when we make ourselves fully available to being transformed by the very act of writing a book. This is Unbound Writing, and this is the process we'll be exploring together here in the Unbound Writers Club. I'm Nicola Humber, author and founder of the Unbound Press, and I help magical beings to write the transformational book they're really here to write at this time. I'm your guide here in the Unbound Writers Club, and the aim of this podcast is to help you to feel supported, encouraged, activated as you embark on your book writing journey. Whether you're a first-time author or have many books out in the world, my hope is that you will find something here to inspire you. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Unbound Writers Club. As we are hurtling towards the end of 2022, and this week we are taking some time to just reflect on the year that's been, on these 12 months that we have been journeying together. In this episode, I am in conversation with Jo Gifford, who is our, how do I describe Jo? She's like our marketing wizard at the Unbound Press, which really doesn't do her justice, but Jo is responsible for all of our socials at the Unbound Press, helping with the podcast, and just being on this wild ride together. So today we are diving into all of the magic that's unfolded and some of the mayhem in 2022. So enjoy, and I'll see you again soon.
Well, hi, Nicola Humber.
Jo Gifford.
Here we are on the 12th of December, 2022. Just having a little moment, you and me, a little tea chat on behalf of our team to reflect on 2022 and the Unbound Press. What a year.
Yes, what a year.
And also, for context, we're just recording this, aren't we, having met up on Friday. The first time I actually met you in person, which was magical. And we had a whole table of people from the Unbound Press, and we were both just saying before we hit record that we're just still reveling in that magic of being in person.
So much. And actually, as you say that, before we came on, I was like, how many books have we released this year? I just keep having to count. And there will be 15 by the end of the year. And there were 15 women at the meetup on Friday. So there's something about that number, which of course wasn't planned, but I just feel like that's quite magical. They weren't the individual authors of the books that have been released this year, but it's like there was a representative for each of the books there.
So Nick, over this last year, we've released 15 books. Let's see, let's go back to at the start of the year. What happened for us this year with the Unbound Press? What have we learned? What's evolved?
Lots.
It has
I
been
mean,
a lot.
it felt like quite a quiet start to the year this year. We didn't have any books coming out in the first couple of months of the year, so it was quite nice to have that like easing into 2022, and it definitely, like for me personally, it took me a while to like really anchor into the energy of this year. It kind of always does. It always feels like that to me. I think it takes me a couple of months to think, actually, what is the energy of this year?
Mm.
But it feels like with the Unbound Press, once things started to get going around the springtime, and Growing Flowers from Within by Carol Cavalcanti was the first book to come out this year in the spring. Gorgeous poetry collection. And then once that happened, it's like the floodgates opened.
You're so right. It really did. And looking back to that start of the year, I remember, because if we, the start of 2022, we were actually still really just coming out of various lockdowns still. Yeah. And so this was early doors. And then I remember that everybody in the team, in our community, became unwell in like February, March time. So it was almost like we were forced, weren't we, to just still stay within, to kind of still be on rest duty. You were quite poorly, I remember.
I had like 2 bouts of like illness, one after the other, at the beginning of this year. I think like February, March time. Yeah, like one of which was COVID, and then I can't remember what order it happened in, but it was like one after the other, and I was just literally had to stop and be in bed. And it's funny because at the beginning of the year, I committed to doing a daily share on Instagram every day, the Unbound 365. And I think for a period of time, all of those shares were just pictures of me in bed, looking really ill, just going, I haven't really got much to share today. I'm not feeling well, but there you go.
Do you know what? They really helped me, because I remember I had a couple of bouts, to be honest, around the same time. And it was helping me because when you're in that state, often you feel like, oh, I'm the only person and everyone else is probably out there having an amazing life. And actually what that episode, I think, taught me, and maybe helped us in the Unbound world, was to remember that the power of rest is huge. Every time like we emerge from stuff, with so much more insight, so much more kind of power behind us. And, we don't start a year kind of all guns blazing. We can ease into things and we still have an incredible time, an incredible output, incredible creativity. It doesn't have to start in January. It comes when it comes.
Exactly. And actually, I feel like this has been one of the big learnings or relearnings this year for me and for us as a team, is like there's always going to be something going on for at least one of us. It might not be illness, but we've all had so many things that have happened this year kind of behind the scene. It's the nature of these times that we're living through, I feel. So it's not like we can wait until everything is like perfect to actually be, doing what we're here to do. But that's the beautiful thing about having a team, is that, okay, if one or two of us are down for a period of time, like somebody else is there to be like holding the space and doing what needs to be done. And I think at different times this year, each one of us has had to step back, and that's all good. It's all good.
Oh my goodness, it's been perfect. And there's been times, I've certainly rocked up to calls to you sobbing. We've rocked up on team calls with people in bed, with people under blankets, like whatever. And I love that that's normal. I love that we normalize that in the team culture, because as the business grows and as we grow as humans and as the mission of the Unbound Press grows, we need to navigate the stuff in these times, right? And we have done that. And I always feel so beautifully held by the energy of the Unbound Press, and of course, our gorgeous humans within it. And in fact, I was reflecting on Friday at the Unbound Press lunch when somebody was talking about the awakening because of course we had a tent at a kind of whole Unbound area, didn't we, at the Awakening Festival in September on the Isle of Wight, and I wasn't able to go to that one, and I was quite angry with the universe at the time. However, what actually worked out was those of you who went, kind of, it took a while for everyone to like ground and to kind of come back into being after such an incredible weekend, and I was kind of on the shoreline, and I was all right because I'd been at home, I was kind of earthed, I was able to carry things on, and we sort of realized, didn't we, that in these potent meetups, in whatever is going on, it does ebb and flow, and you do need people kind of on the shore to keep us there.
Exactly, like being that anchor for everybody else. And again, this is what I've seen over and over again, or not seen, like literally felt and experienced in so many different ways this year, is when we are like doing this work and holding space for these books and authors who are so magical and transformational. Like it's such big stuff, and it's not to be taken lightly. And I've forgotten that at times this year, and then like you see kind of a bit of mayhem kind of manifesting, because it's like, it's really important to acknowledge how powerful these books are, and each of the beings who are part of the Unbound Press, whether that's a team member or an author or somebody who's writing a book at the moment, or even thinking about writing a book at the moment, or listening to this podcast, like all of the different energies that are being held within and by the Unbound Press, it's massive. So if at times, we feel a bit kind of spun out by that, of course. And, as I spoke about earlier as well, that's all happening within these deeply transformational times that we're living through. So I've really felt a new appreciation for all of that this year. It's like, okay, like even when it feels like things are, there's moments of chaos or things aren't unfolding as we wanted or hoped or expected, it's like, well, of course, because, look at what we're doing.
Yeah, and just to speak a little bit into what those things might be. So I know certainly there's been sort of technical things behind the scenes, a bit with the platform we use, even things like Gmail, like my Gmail will never let your emails through to me.
They don't talk.
Yeah, they don't talk. Or we've had all sorts of, like, so there's been like systemic things, there's been kind of process things, there's been human things. And what I have loved witnessing again, relearning, as you say, is that it's all perfect. I never once look at something and think, oh my goodness, well, it's all gone wrong, and if I'm poorly on this day, then I could never be part of it again with Nick, or if this doesn't upload properly, like whoever's issue or hitch or hiccup it is always worked out in the perfect time, and we allow space for that in Unbound World, which is incredible. And these are transformational words, and we are externalizing the most incredible transformational pieces of work that are writing right to the edge of people's soul experience. And of course that's gonna kick up a little bit of energetic chaos, and so we've been riding those waves, haven't we? Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
What else have we done? We've had the first Audible books have come out this year.
I know. I mean, how amazing. I was looking back at my journal from the beginning of this year, actually, and like the themes that were coming through. And one of them was voice, like, that the actual spoken word is going to become more and more important. So it's been amazing this year to have like 2 of our books released as in audio versions, one of which was your amazing Wild Currents.
Yeah, one was Wild Currents. And so bless Trudy Rima, she went first with Adventure after. And she was so brave and very unbound, because this was our first kind of audiobook production, and we learned as we went. And she had a very long book, didn't she? She had 100,000 words and was the first to try and record it. And so we really got under the skin of that process, really, and kind of held space for, again, the transformative power of reliving your book, which is a whole new thing, to go over the words that you've written and to also allow your voice then to be heard by people, which has been certainly incredible for me. I know it has been amazing for Trudy as well. And that element of voice, whether it's audible or in person, and the show up and share elements of the mastermind have been really powerful, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, they always have been, but it feels like right now, it feels like every show up and share session we have, and we have a couple of them every month, they're just becoming more and more potent. And it was always something, we didn't have those when the mastermind first started. And it's something I kind of added on. I thought, well, maybe people would like that opportunity. And actually, I feel like it's become like the core of the Unbound Writing Mastermind now. And so much so that next year we want to, open that experience up and do some in-person events where authors are speaking their words. And yes, certainly some online events where that happens, because I mean, the sharing is incredibly powerful, but the witnessing, like to have other women, other writers in that space witnessing someone sharing their words, is incredibly potent. So that's huge. I feel like this is the next layer of what we're here to do, is the spoken word.
And really, at this point, the actual book production itself, that's not the end game, is it?
No. And again, that's become very clear to me this year. And I think to us, it's like, yeah, that's amazing. Like I wrote an email about this earlier in the year, actually, because my mentor said at one point, she said, the Unbound Press is like a front. It's like, we present as a publishing company, and actually it's not about the book. I mean, it is about the books, but it's about so much more than that. It is about the transformation, but also the community, like the community that comes together around these books, and the connections. And like, just, even on Friday, seeing everyone connecting and talking, and some of the women who were there, they'd connected in other ways before, which, I wasn't even aware of. And like, there's so much magic being sparked off in those connections. It blows me away.
Oh, it's incredible. And you're so right. And even, there's been a couple that I haven't been able to get to, but I've still felt held by everybody being together. And that feels really unique as well for us, that or it certainly feels aligned with the energy of what we're doing in these times, that it's not like oh, you weren't there, there's no FOMO. It's we're all held by this energy of what everybody is doing, and with so much love, so much support, which is so much more than a book publishing service. It's just, you're right, it is a front, isn't it, almost?
It is. It really helped me to realize that, because I can get, like, the publishing side's really important to me, that, the way we hold space for our authors and support them through the process, like, it's really important. Well, it's really important to all of us that we do an amazing job with that, and we do. But when I kind of had this realization that, yes, and there is so much more to it, I just found that, I don't know, that really helped me in terms of some of the things that have felt challenging this year. Because at times it has felt challenging. Like, you talked about riding the waves, and it's felt at times like it's getting dragged under at some point. When you're like caught up in a wave and you just can't kind of get your head above the surface. And it has felt like that at times this year. And when I guess it was saying earlier, when I recognized like what we are kind of collectively holding space for, it's like, okay, well, that it kind of makes sense. It's going to feel like that sometimes, so it's okay.
Absolutely. And it feels like, once again this year, we've had similar themes are coming through in the work. So I know certainly there's been the poetry and the art side of things coming through. We've got visual stuff coming through. We've got as big mother themes.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like the mother theme, and which I guess has been there because it's been interesting. Like last year with Deborah Kilby's book, Rosa's Choice, and then this year with Alison Shalhoub and Baby Talk to Me, with the Spirit Babies. And it feels like moving into 2023, that the mother piece is going to be even more prevalent with a new collaborative book Wake Up Mother, which is not just about birthing babies, but, that mother energy. Oh, I'm thinking of Jennifer Flint as well, and her novel
Oh,
Wild Egg that came out this year, which is really talking about that mother energy as creation energy. So yeah, there's at least a couple of books next year that are picking up on those themes. And as you said, a lot of the books that are in the works this year have a very strong visual element. Well, Wild Currents had a really strong visual element, and there's going to be quite a few coming out next year with that as well. So it is very interesting to see how these things emerge.
I love it. And it often feels like there's a sister book that's in production to what, when we see them coming through, oh no, that fits in with that one that we've just done, or one that's arriving now. And it's magical to see how the books find their homes and make sense. So Nick, have you had what have been your sitting on the mountaintop highlight moments this year, do you think?
One of them was definitely, Friday felt like that when we all came together. I think any other times when we could get to come together in person, like the Awakening Festival for me on the Isle of Wight. It was an amazing event, but what I just loved was, I don't know, the way it came together with such ease, because I'd spoken to Kate Taylor, who organised it earlier in the year, and she said, like, you can have like a whole Unbound tent and like different authors running workshops. And I was thinking, okay, well, I wonder who would do what, and if anyone will actually want to do it, and how will it work? And as soon as we put the call out there, like people dropped in, like the workshops that happened on that day, like every single one was like off the charts amazing, like blew my mind what our authors were holding space for. And it was just so much fun. It was a beautiful weekend, like weather-wise, just being there in the sunshine on the Isle of Wight, and yeah, just making magic together. That was a moment when I was like, wow, look what we're doing. So that was a real highlight for me. What about you? What about you, Jo?
Oh, do you know what? I quite often have those moments when I'm sitting doing the social, or looking at, because we have the book birthdays that we celebrate, or we do announcements as to what's coming through. And I'll be looking at the week ahead, and I'll say to you, like, oh my goodness, look at all this magic. One for me was supporting Trudy with her Audible book, and that being produced just felt, it was such a potent book anyway. The story was so incredibly raw and emotional and incredible. I was in awe of Trudy, really blown away by, my team, but, with the Audible production stuff, and the way that it all came through was just so aligned and so beautiful. That was one for me, definitely. The Awakening, even though I wasn't there, because I felt the call to say yes, and I was held back on the shore to be anchor over here, and it felt, I was there in spirit, so it felt amazing to witness you all and to see what's happening. And honestly, the team meetings for me, when we have a team meeting and you say something like, oh, there's not much to share really, and then we actually share what's happening, and we go, oh wow,
there is quite a lot.
There really is a lot. And it's beautiful, I think, witnessing everybody within our team grow and evolve, and seeing our authors grow and evolve always feels really special. It does feel like it's been a particularly growth-led year for us.
That's a really nice way of putting it, Jo.
Particularly roller coaster, everyone crying every day.
But I pulled a card from Tara Jackson's deck before we came on, which again has been a highlight of this year. Tara's, well, that was one of the things that she released this year through the Unbound Press.
Yeah.
A couple of books, Oracle card deck, but her Embodied Wisdom deck, which just feels so aligned with everything Unbound. And the card that I pulled, I'll hold it up to show to you, Jo, not that people listening can, but it's grounding. And the actual message from this card says, this card invites you to ground deeply on this planet. It's a time to commit to being human and being present on Earth. You might feel like you are a star child, or that you don't belong and this isn't your home, but your soul chose to be here right now. Let the copper grounding energy of Mother Earth remind you. And it feels like that's what this year's been about, like reminding us that we're human.
Oh my goodness.
And we get to do amazing things, but also it can feel incredibly human at times.
That's the perfect card. You're so right. And it is the human piece of the growth, isn't it? And it is that part of remembering that we're still journeying with these amazing souls living in a human experience, and that is the piece of it that's really hard. But oh my goodness, I wouldn't change it for the world, would you?
No, 100%, no way, wouldn't change it. And I'm just so grateful to be journeying with the Unbound Press, with all of our authors, with you, with all of the team. I mean, it's just so magical.
It is a joy, Nick. It really is. And so briefly, what's looking ahead for us for 2023? What's starting to cook up for us?
Well, this 2023 is our 5th year. So we're heading towards our 5th anniversary of the Unbound Press, which I can't quite believe. So yeah, definitely more in-person gatherings and events next year, with our bringing different groups, different constellations of our authors together to share their magic. I mean, we had a team meeting last week, and I think you used the words like grassroots, like that being, just really harnessing the power of being a grassroots movement and creating more in-person community. It feels like that's what the Unbound Press is wanting for next year. But who knows, to be honest, because we can make these plans and then we'll see what happens. But that's how it's feeling to me right now.
It's been like there's a shift, isn't it, particularly around sharing our voices in person or in small groups. Definitely feels really potent. And I think we said to me on the call as well that we can feel like that glimmer of newness, and there's no clarity around it yet, particularly, and that's okay. It will unfold. Wow, Nicola Humber, what a year for the Unbound Press.
I know, 2022. I keep forgetting that it's still 2022 in a way. Like, are we still in 2022? It's felt like a really long year.
I don't know what day it is, what year it is anymore. But yeah, what an incredible year, and it's just a joy to reflect on this with you and to see where we go next year. So this is our last podcast of the year, so we'll be back in January.
Oh no, actually.
Oh no.
Because we've got Sunraya
we've got Sunraya
next week on solstice. Yeah, it's all unbound.
Oh, beautifully unbound. See, I totally knew that. That's right, of course. So yes, Sunraya will be closing us out with her incredible new book for Solstice. That is absolutely perfect. Well, thank you so much, Nick. It's great to dive into this with you.
Thanks, Jo. It's been great. Thank you.